There's a question that many people carry in secret. Why does my life feel like I am always fighting? Fighting with other people, fighting with circumstances, fighting with yourself. On the outside, you might appear calm, functional, even successful, but on the inside, there is a constant tension. Your jaw is tight, your chest feels heavy, your mind is always arguing with something. It might be your past, it might be your responsibilities, it might be your own feelings. Peace starts to sound like a nice idea for other people, or for later. Once I solve these problems, then I will rest. Once I reach this goal, then I will relax. Once everyone else changes, then I will feel at peace. But the later keeps moving away. Today, we are going to talk about what it means to choose the path of peace not as a fantasy, but as a practice inside a real life that includes stress, conflicts, and responsibilities. We will explore why peace is not the same as passivity, why many of us are unconsciously addicted to inner chaos, and how you can begin to move from a life built on constant inner war to a life where peace is something you build from the inside out, even when the outside is not perfect. And if reflections like this help you feel a little more softness toward your own story, take a moment to subscribe to this channel. That simple action supports this work, helps these ideas reach more people, and allows me to keep creating content that honors your depth instead of just telling you to be positive and ignore your reality. Let us start by clearing a common confusion. Peace does not mean that nothing ever bothers you. Peace does not mean that you never feel anger, sadness, or frustration. Peace is not a performance of being calm while your insides are screaming. Peace is a quality of relationship with yourself and with life. It is the ability to stay connected to your center even when things around you are not under control. You can think of it like the difference between the surface of the ocean and the deeper water below. On the surface, there are waves, storms, wind. You cannot stop that. But deeper down, the water moves slower, with a calmer, more steady rhythm. Choosing the path of peace is learning to live more often from that deeper place, instead of always being thrown by every wave on the surface. To do that, we need to understand why so many of us are pulled again and again into inner conflict. Sometimes, chaos feels familiar. If you grew up in an environment where there was a lot of tension, shouting, criticism, or instability, your nervous system may have learned that normal means being on alert. So when life becomes quiet, part of you does not trust it. You might create arguments in your head, overthink every detail, or find something to worry about just to feel that familiar sense of something is wrong. Other times, the lack of peace comes from unresolved stories you carry inside. Old guilt, old resentment, old shame. Your mind replays scenes where you were hurt or where you hurt someone else and uses them as evidence that you are not enough, not safe, or not allowed to rest. So even when nothing is happening in the present, your inner world is busy reliving the past or predicting future disasters. To choose the path of peace does not mean pretending those experiences did not affect you. It means deciding that they will not be the only voice that guides your life. Let us explore 3 movements that help you walk this path in a grounded, honest way. First movement, choosing peace over being right. There is a phrase that sounds simple but can be very confronting. You can be at peace, or you can be constantly proving that you are right. It is very hard to be both. Think about how much energy you spend in your mind rehearsing arguments, imagining what you should have said, planning what you will say next time, holding tight to the idea that someone needs to admit that they were wrong so you can finally relax. Sometimes justice and accountability are important. We are not talking about accepting abuse or pretending that harmful behavior is fine. We are talking about the small daily wars where your ego needs to win. You need the last word. You need the apology. You need the recognition. When these needs control you, your peace becomes dependent on what other people do, which means you have to wait for them to change so that you can rest. Choosing peace over being right looks like this. You notice the urge to prove, to attack, to defend. You feel the heat in your chest, the arguments forming in your head, and then you ask yourself, is this worth my peace? Is this argument actually going to bring me closer to the life I want, or just keep me stuck in the same story? Sometimes the answer will be, yes, I need to speak up. Setting this boundary matters. Then you speak from clarity, not from explosion. Other times, you will see that the battle is not necessary. You can let a comment go. You can say, maybe they do not understand me, and that is okay. You can choose to protect your energy instead of your ego. This does not make you weak. It makes you selective about where your inner fire goes. Second movement, choosing peace inside your own mind. Many people are gentle with others, but harsh with themselves. On the outside, you are patient. On the inside, you are brutal. You criticize every mistake. You replay every awkward moment. You call yourself names you would never use for a friend. It is very difficult to walk the path of peace if your inner voice is a constant attacker. We cannot talk about peace only in terms of relationships with others. We need to talk about the relationship you have with yourself. Choosing peace inside your mind does not mean that you never feel disappointed with yourself. It means that when you make a mistake, you do not add violence on top of it. For example, you miss a deadline. Your old pattern might be, you are useless. You always do this. You will never change. Choosing the path of peace sounds more like, I made a mistake. I feel ashamed. What can I learn from this? What support do I need so that next time I can do it differently? Notice the difference. One voice attacks. The other takes responsibility without destroying your worth. This shift requires practice. You have repeated the old voice for years. So do not expect your inner dialogue to change in one day. But you can start with awareness. When you catch your inner critic speaking loudly, pause. Ask, would I say this sentence to a child I love? To a friend who is struggling? If not, you can gently adjust. You can try. This was not my best, but I am still learning. I can repair what is possible and I can move forward. Choosing peace inside your own mind is one of the most radical acts you can do. Because when you stop attacking yourself, you also stop needing to attack others to release the pressure. Third movement, choosing peace over constant self-betrayal. One of the main sources of inner conflict is ignoring your own limits and values. Every time you say yes when you mean no, your body remembers. Every time you stay where you feel disrespected, your nervous system pays the price. You might think that choosing peace means keeping everyone around you comfortable, avoiding conflict, not causing problems. But that kind of peace is fragile. It depends on you shrinking, hiding, and abandoning yourself. Real peace includes you. It includes your needs, your boundaries, your truth. Choosing peace over self-betrayal might look like saying, I cannot take this on right now, even if someone is disappointed. Leaving a conversation when it becomes disrespectful, instead of staying to prove a point. Giving yourself permission to rest, even when the to-do list is not finished, because you know that your health matters. At first, this kind of choice can feel like conflict, especially if people are used to you always saying yes. They may react. They may call you selfish. They may resist the new you. In these moments, you might be tempted to go back to your old pattern, to keep peace outside by creating war inside. But remember, you are not choosing between peace and conflict. You are choosing where the conflict will live, inside you or outside in the world, where it can be addressed honestly. Real peace is not the absence of tension. It is the presence of alignment between what you value, what you say, and what you do. Sometimes that alignment requires hard conversations. It requires disappointing people who benefit from your silence. It requires grieving the version of you who always held everything together, even when it was breaking you. But on the other side of that grief, there is more space, more breath, more quiet. Now, you might be thinking, this all sounds good, but my life is complicated. I have bills, children, responsibilities, and a mind that never stops. And you are right. Life is complex. The path of peace is not walked in perfect conditions. It is walked in the middle of work emails, family dynamics, health issues, and noisy cities. So how do you bring these ideas into your daily reality? Let us make this very practical. Think about one area of your life that feels heavy right now. It might be a relationship, your job, your health, your relationship with yourself. Ask yourself 3 questions. First, in this area, where am I choosing being right over being at peace? Maybe you keep replaying what someone did to you, waiting for an apology that may never come. Maybe you keep arguing with reality, saying, this should not have happened, even though it did. What would it look like to accept that you cannot change the past and bring your focus to what you can choose now? Second question. In this area, how do I speak to myself? Notice the sentences that come automatically. Are they gentle? Are they cruel? What is one sentence you could introduce that creates more peace inside your mind without denying your responsibility? Third question. In this area, where am I betraying myself to keep things comfortable? Maybe you say yes to tasks that leave you exhausted. Maybe you avoid setting a boundary because you fear conflict. What is one small boundary that would honor your peace, even if it feels uncomfortable at first? These questions are not meant to overwhelm you. They are invitations to shift one small step at a time. Choosing the path of peace does not happen in one big decision. It happens in hundreds of tiny choices where you pause, breathe, and decide not to repeat the same old pattern. Of course, there are situations where peace feels far away because of trauma, mental illness, or ongoing harm. If you are living in an environment that is unsafe or carrying unprocessed pain that feels too heavy to hold alone, seeking support is an act of peace, not a sign of weakness. A therapist, counselor, or trusted person can help you build internal spaces of safety even when the external world is still difficult. Peace is not a solo project. We are relational beings. Sometimes, the most peaceful thing you can do is to stop carrying everything by yourself. As we move toward a close, remember this. The path of peace is not boring. It is not a gray, lifeless road where nothing ever happens. Peace does not remove your passion. It refines it. Instead of burning in 1,000 small fights, your energy becomes available for what really matters. For creativity, for presence, for love. Choosing peace does not mean that life stops being messy. It means that even in the mess, you have a place inside yourself that you can return to, a place of honesty, kindness, and alignment. You will still have days when your mind is noisy, when your reactions are sharp, when you fall back into old habits of control, comparison, or blame. When that happens, do not turn peace into another standard to beat yourself with. Instead, notice. I left my path for a moment. I reacted from fear or from ego. Then gently step back. One breath, one apology, one different choice. The path of peace is not a straight line. It is a spiral. You will pass through the same themes again and again. But each time, if you are paying attention, you bring a little more awareness, a little more compassion, a little more freedom. Peace is not something you wait to receive when life finally becomes perfect. It is something you practice now, exactly where you are, with the body, the history, and the circumstances you have. And step by step, as you choose your inner world with as much care as you choose your outer actions, you may find that the life you are living feels less like a constant battle and more like a place where you are allowed to breathe, to belong, and to move with a quieter, stronger kind of strength. See you next time.